Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Norway Chess 2026, and welcome back to 10 days of Magnus Carlsen on the thumbnail. This is an annual tournament, held usually in Stavanger, this year for the first time, I think, in Oslo. And generally, they invite Magnus Carlsen and a bunch of other players, including world champion GothamChess, including Vincent Keimer, the German phenom, and so on and so forth. Yesterday, Carlsen got off to a bad start. He lost to Alireza Firouzja. And we know that when Magnus loses, generally very bad things happen for every other player in the tournament. Hence why on the thumbnail, he is the main character of Breaking Bad. So today he's going to try to burn down the entire tournament. That's what's going to happen. He is the danger. Here we have the standings on the screen, where I will also show you the games of Prague and Gukesh and Wesley. You might be wondering how they played one game, but somebody got 3 points. It's soccer or football scoring, 3 points for a win. And then if you make it to Armageddon and you win, then you get a little bit less points. Okay, so Magnus, Vincent Keimer. We have c4, we have an English opening. e5, the reverse Sicilian. Carlsen is going to take the soul of the much younger Vincent Keimer. They've played many games against each other. Bishop to b4. By the way, knight c3. Bishop b4, I have struggled with this line myself for white, which is why I really have started to play the King's English with g3, bishop g2. Knight c3, bishop b4 is a shockingly resilient move. Looking for like a reverse Rossalimo where you take the knight, which is why the knight comes here to try to take advantage of the fact that black never moved here. Magnus says, go ahead and take my knight, go ahead and damage my pawn structure. Vincent does exactly that. And now Magnus takes like this. So we are going to play a reverse Rossalimo. It's like white is playing with black. White played the Sicilian defense. Black simply replaces a pawn on the dark squares. Very normal stuff so far. It's kind of shocking. And if you are a beginner or an intermediate watching, it might be shocking. Like, he just gave away the bishop that easily? Don't you tell us, like, not to do that? Yeah. Yes, you have to get good enough at chess to know when to break the rules. e4 from Magnus. So he locks up the center. The knight goes to d7. So not to c6. Because he wants to park it on c5 on another dark square and fight for the light squares, fight for the pawns on the light squares. So we have knight c5, Magnus puts the bishop back on c2, knight f6, queen e2, and Vincent plays this move a5. Vincent hasn't thought at all yet. So clearly familiar with this position. It's in his preparation. And now Magnus plays 3 of the most idiotic looking moves I have seen in quite some time. And this really shows you that you cannot try to replicate the chess played at 27 and 2800 level if you are watching this. Really, you can't. Even I probably can't. In this position, you ask a beginner for a move, probably like 90% of people here say castle. Some people say pin. Some of you might say attack the knight. Honestly, b4 is not even that stupid of a move. Knight d2. If I told you Magnus played, you would sit up in your chair and you would go, well, he probably wants to do something over here. Maybe he wants to trade the knight. No, what if I told you he wanted to make that knight the other knight? And then he wanted to play knight a3. There is no way you can explain this to someone who is not already at least 2200. To reposition the knight to just about the worst possible square on the other side of the board, where the knight cannot do this. And he's just trying to stop black's queenside advancement. Mind-blowing. Very creative and potentially extremely flawed. Vincent plays b6, which is also not great. I think he should have maybe played h6 to stop the bishop from activating. b6 obviously can't be a bad move. Black plays the mysterious queen e8. I can't explain queen e8 to you. I can't. I don't know what queen e8 does. I don't know what it does. I think he wants to bring his queen here, which is what he ended up doing in the game. Magnus now pinned him. So I think this was Vincent's idea to activate the queen like this. So he does activate the queen a little bit. Magnus plays f3, stabilizing the center, and that's just about where my explanation ends. The fascinating thing about this game is that they both have 8 of their pawns, and it's rare you get 15, 20 moves in a game where all the pawns are on the board. So there's a lot of pawn play. Like black can go for b5, c6, d5. White can go for b4. White can go for an attack over here, maybe f4 in some positions. So bishop a6, bishop goes back, Vincent goes back, Magnus short castles. Rook fc8 is completely and utterly inexplicable. I don't know. Why did he choose to put the rook there and not on e8 or d8 or b8? I'm sure there's a big logical explanation. You generally come to these videos to get moves explained. I think he figured this was the most flexible move that didn't get in the way of any pieces. I think he wanted c7 to always be protected. Like, if knight b5 is now played by Magnus, knight b5, you can play c6.
Maybe that was the reason, and if the rook, maybe.
b4 from Magnus, there's the pawn play, and now we have this trade. So now the game is going to open up. Game's going to open up, going to get spicy. Magnus, Heisenberg, you know, bring extra security to the venue in Oslo as he is going to try to open things up. Queen goes back to e7. Magnus puts the queen there. That's what happened. I can't really explain it. I mean, I can, right? He's trying to get out of the pin if I had to. Knight repositions. White is still looking. Knight b5, b4. He plays knight b5. Okay. Vincent goes back. Magnus plays b4, so this is weak, and c5 is now totally controlled. That does seem like an improvement of the position. Vincent now plays something brilliant. He plays, drinking some delicious French tea here. b4 stopped c5. Now, this next move is high-level stuff. Vincent plays h5, which is the top move of the computer. Alien-level chess. There are no pieces here, no knights, no bishops, there's no real kingside attacks. So I kind of just think Vincent's like, I can control Magnus's space, and maybe if my pawn gets here, Magnus either has to take it, damaging his structure and weakening himself, or push and let me get some space. So bishop b3, Vincent plays knight f8, he's not yet playing h4, okay? Magnus now goes knight a7 attacking his rook, which is just a ridiculous move, and rook to a2, looking to double his rooks. Vincent plays h4. Very tough decision now for Magnus. He can stop h3 or not. He goes here. And now Vincent, who played h5 and h4, he played these two moves, is staring at the move h3 and is like, wait a minute. The GOAT is letting me execute my plan completely. That means it's probably bad for me to execute my plan. Actually, the top move of the engine is h3. Now, white shouldn't take. White should go here. And now if you're looking at the computer lines, one of the moves is g5, which I think we could have hypothesized. The other one is knight h7, which does...
I got no idea.
If you look at the lines, it's like knight g5, but white can just go here and like defend. Maybe there's some sacrifices in the air. You got to go queen f2. I mean, Vincent puts the pawn all the way here, okay? And then he doesn't push it to h3. He goes queen f6, and Magnus is like, oh, well, isn't that really great that I totally stopped h3? I mean, Magnus, a move late, is now stopping the plan that was the best plan. We're not used to this type of Carlsen. This is new fatherhood Carlsen. Sleeping 4 hours a night on average Carlsen. 3 a.m. reading baby books Carlsen. I mean, he should have stopped h3 on the previous move. Stops it now. Now the game gets completely insane. Knight to b5. The rooks are coming off the board. We're going to obviously trade some pieces. Rook here. And this is Magnus's first chance in a while. He can play c5 here, taking advantage of this pin so that the pawn can't actually take. So c5 is the best move. Magnus gets his chance. First time in 2 days he's had a good position. He goes rook a7, though. And after bishop to c6, the position's still equal. And Magnus, really, Heisenberg style, talking early season, drops the stuff on the floor, everything blows up. For reasons I cannot explain to you, he sacrifices his knight. That is not a blunder. That square is covered 2 times. Vincent takes the knight. Shocking. Magnus plays b5, so he has calculated something here. The bishop is hanging, and it doesn't have anywhere comfortable to move. If it goes here, you will take this, take this, take this. So what does black do? Black can move this knight. And if he moves the knight to e6, he is much better. Knight to e6. You cannot take the bishop because the rook is hanging. So I don't know what Magnus thought about here. Maybe he was going to take on b6, maybe something like this. Maybe he was going to take on d6. Maybe this was the idea. But Vincent Keimer is winning here, which is kind of, I mean, it's a little hard to imagine because he's straight up down a bishop. The bishop is not participating. But if Vincent plays knight f4, he is checkmating white. So white is going to have to give away the bishop. And then Vincent's like infiltrating with the queen here and the knight. And this bishop, as ridiculous as it looks, is totally safe. Queen e3 check, the king runs away. You have queen e1 here and knight f4. And like you win because white's pieces are ceramic. They are not wooden. They are not made of anything playing on the board. So Magnus sacks material, knight e6. If Vincent finds this kind of concept, knight e6 to go knight f4 and queen g5, he's winning. As you might have imagined at this point, he went backwards. He went passive. And so now Magnus is back in the driver's seat. Vincent ends up sacrificing his bishop back. He doesn't put it on b7. Had he put it on b7, Magnus would have went here. And then after takes, we would have gotten bishop g5 winning the queen, which would have been kind of disgusting. The queen's just trapped in the middle of the game. So Vincent sacrifices the pieces back. Now Magnus is winning. It's +2. He has 2 bishops versus 2 knights. He's going to open the position, plays queen f2 targeting the pawn. It's an incredibly ugly position. Queen f5 is dominating here for white. Not rook a6 though. So wait a minute. Magnus does not find the best way forward because Vincent now can play knight f4. Knight f4 is a very nice move. He gives away the pawn like this. And if you take on b6, something like rook b6, bishop b6, there might be queen a8. There could be some counterplay here on this file. Magnus only has 5 minutes. Looking for a simple solution, takes like this. Vincent can sack his rook here, apparently. But he goes knight c7, he's losing again. And now he activates like this. White gets out of the way. Magnus has 1 minute and 53 seconds. Bishop goes back, queen e7, knight c5, bishop c2. And g5. Vincent is looking for a defensive fortress. Remember, there is no bonus time in Norway chess. The only bonus time is when you cross the 40th move, you can no longer lose on the clock. You gain 10 seconds every time you press it. White is winning, but it's very complicated because black has clogged up the whole board with his pieces. But Magnus is going to find a way, because he always does. Queen f3, nice move, bishop f4, queen g4. And in this position, Vincent Keimer loses the game on the spot. And he loses the game on the spot because he misses White's idea. He misses White's idea. White's got an idea here. He always had some ideas. He's got an idea here. But he's threatening this pawn, so White has to find a way to defend it. But with White, if you give a check and then take the knight, you win the game. You give a check, king here, you take the knight, the game is over. Because you get queen h5 and queen h8, and it's an unstoppable checkmate. Black basically has to do this. You can take it with whatever you want. You have like 74 extra pawns. Carlsen is winning. But he goes for the endgame. He spotted this and is like, well, I'm just going to win this endgame. I win every endgame that I've basically ever played in my life. And he's going to try to win this one. Except Vincent Keimer has a total blockade. The white bishop cannot enter anywhere. It's completely stuck. And everything in black's position is holding together. Obviously, Magnus thought he had a way through here, being that he was up a pawn. He has no way through. He's going to try. He's actually going to regain a microscopic advantage right here. But if you let the engine run, it doesn't find any convincing way into the black position. Everything in black's position is defending everything else, except this pawn. But you can't even attack it. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how the classical game between Vincent Keimer and Magnus Carlsen ended. It went on for some 20 more moves. Magnus made like another trade, but there was just no way. And they played for 85 moves, and the game ended in a draw. I mean, that is bananas, man. Like, in this position, you got rook a8, bishop f4, queen h5. 2024 Magnus would play rook a8, bishop f4, queen h5. I have no idea, really. I don't know. But, yeah, Magnus did everything in this game. He made it like a dirty, dirty fight. And then he had a winning chance. He definitely didn't think that in the middle of this battle. The thing is, you miss things because you don't think you just get a checkmate opportunity. You know, the guy goes here and threatens this, and your brain just has to be like, I'm winning. And Stockfish doesn't care. It has no emotions, right? So now the boys have to play an Armageddon. Friendly reminder that the Armageddon is the white side getting 10 minutes, black getting 7, and black wins if the game ends in a draw. Magnus plays b3, bishop b2, plays actually Vincent's opening against him. Vincent likes to play like this. Takes. Vincent plays with the queen. Very imbalanced game from the opening. Vincent clearly trying to play something sharp and complicated so that white has to spend a lot of time. Magnus, for the second game in a row, going for a queenless middle game. Vincent gonna try his best to, survive the pressure. Magnus making small and steady improvements, but for the second game in a row, the German phenom's in a great spot. Now, what Magnus is doing here, though, is really, really smart. He's always up on time. Because ultimately, if you go move by move, band for band, with Carlsen in this time control, you're gonna have a lot less time. And Vincent here on the 30th move played great so far. He basically has to keep doing nothing. He probably spotted knight d4, knight c6 incoming and was like, uh-oh. So he tries to force the issue, but it backfires, and it backfires in spectacular fashion because now he has knight c6 and all the problems as a bonus, and his position falls apart. Knight e7, nice little tactic. Rook c7. Magnus wins this game of the Armageddon with 98% precision, which is kind of crazy because the classical game was a horrendous game by his standards. He went into the confessional booth and said that the game is a complete and utter embarrassment. That's what he said. I didn't say that. I don't say games by elite players are utter embarrassments. I'm not one of these sports pundits that sits on television and is like, this was the most disastrous thing I've ever seen. No, because I know the feeling of what it's like to play in competitive chess settings. But he wins. Magnus is on the scoreboard. He's no longer at 0. He's at 1.5. And Vincent is at 2 points. He has lost 2 times in Armageddon. Now, the man, the myth, the legend, all right? They have let this man... I'm going to pour a little tea. It's French. Mariage frère, I think. I don't know. That's just some random tea label I just named. I actually have no idea where this is from. But I got it as a gift once. Ali Reza Firouzja, the man, the myth, the legend. The guy who I dedicated yesterday my recap because I lifted my leg. And he is playing with a damaged ankle. He's playing Prague. The opening is a semi-Slav defense. Takes. Both of them squatted while wearing Adidas in front of a Lada? Is that the Soviet car? I don't know. E3, H6. And in this position, black has many choices, but one of the choices he has is to play G5 and chase down this bishop. I actually played like this against Pia Kramling, because my goal against Pia Kramling, who's a very good and solid positional player, was to take calculated risks. So in our match, in our rapid games, in our blitz games, I've played like this against her multiple times to try to get a very dynamic position. And in those matches, it worked. I think it got me positions that I was very comfortable in. White goes king b1. Now, basically, black is going to try to do something here, or else black is going to get destroyed. White is going to try to attack in the middle somehow, or else white's not going to get destroyed. White's position is fine. Queen e7, rook c1. Okay, this is kind of fascinating. So rather than maybe black playing on this side, maybe Ali Reza is going to play on this side. Wow, long castle. Okay, that kind of scratches a little bit of what I said. White is no longer going to try to maybe break over here. We're just going to have a battle on this side of the board. Knight a4, king b8, and he allows knight c5, but now he puts the rook on c8. Maybe bishop c8. Like, to me, bishop c8 looks very natural to try to play b6 and get out this way and just keep the bishop there, but fine. Ali Reza goes queen b3, slowly inching forward. And in the early maneuvers of this game, you see both guys preparing all their forces. It's quite clear everything is happening on the side of the board. This is where, you're gonna have the meat drop-off point, the big crescendo moment of the whole thing. Ali Reza keeps making a couple of improving moves. Prague is going for counterplay. He is not going to get bullied. Queen c2 back and h4, and Prague's like, bro, I've stabilized my king side. It's, So now we have totally backwards situations. White is not playing here, and black is not playing here, because the king, it depends where the king castles. Bishop f5. Nice move, bishop f6, just waiting. Very chill. So far, Prague is doing fantastic. And from this point forward, Prague begins going wrong. So there was no need to trade the queen. Who the heck does Prague think he is? Magnus Carlsen? No, seriously. I mean, Queen e4 is a very reasonable move, but you don't need to trade the queen. You probably saw like queen f5, and maybe there's going to be some problems, but trading the queen apparently is a wrong decision. So queen e4, Alireza goes for the endgame. And now this, and now you have some real practical problems. You have 3 potential very big weaknesses, and this knight is guarding the only weakness in white's position. This rook it might get here somehow, I don't know, by smoking something. h3 though, so h3, he tries to force off his weakness. And now there are some really concrete problems brewing in the position. Knight c2, and yeah, black's in trouble. Black is in trouble. Knight's gonna go to a3 and c4. This pawn could be used to weaken the structure as well. Then I could get to b6 potentially. And over the next 5 to 10 moves, the position doesn't just get unpleasant for black. He is just completely lost. So Prague, this was maybe the last moment he could have sat and waited. He obviously didn't like something. Just like in the candidates tournament, I feel like he gets low on time. And Alireza Firouzja wins this game without really breaking a sweat. And I would really hope he didn't break a sweat, because he's sitting in a, you know, in a chair with his foot up on another chair. Rook a4 is game over. He just mates the king. The game ended very nicely, but I mean, the game was very sharp, and Prague did not take the best practical decision here with this queen trade. All the problems started here. He obviously thought he was for choice, but after the position trades, it's not even that white gets back to equality. White is just significantly better. So this transformation, I might put this in one of my next books, because, you know, I have the intermediate one for up to 1600, 1700. But my book for master level, one of the chapters, one of the major issues that separate intermediate from advanced players is transforming the position. Like piece trades, pawn play, you know, transformations, how they change. Yeah, maybe Prague, Prague misevaluated the transformation. So maybe I will put this example in. I'm not going to say he needs to read that you said that, not me. So Firouzja has 6 points. Firouzja's on the board with 6 points. 2 wins in a soccer scoring, football scoring. This game, total pandemonium. This is Wesley versus Gukesh. It's a Spanish. It's mainline Breyer variation. Yep. It's actually Breyer Zaitsev, like rook e8, bishop f8, knight d7, bishop b7. And Wesley in this game just gets comprehensively outplayed from the opening. Amazing play from Gukesh, playing like a real serious problematic world champion. I mean, he plays h5, and Wesley here, as we get to the, you know, the deeper time control, he goes wrong. He uncoordinates his pieces. This was actually a moment white was a touch better. That was a big mistake. Bishop c3 was better. Gukesh takes over the game, and the advantage only keeps growing. He wins Wesley's queen. Excellent pressure. He now has a queen versus a rook and a bishop. And I guess an extra pawn, which hardly feels that way. Black is winning here with the smashing move d5, but okay, it's very complicated. You have an extra queen, but it's not so simple. You know, white is going to try to go for a fortress. Gukesh, queen e3, totally pulling apart the defenses. Actually, somewhere here, Wesley gets back in the game, and then, like, right here, Wesley is totally equalized. Then he's going to lose the game 3 moves later. But what white is hoping for here is a fortress. White wants a position where the queen cannot touch any of the pieces in white's territory. I will show you what I mean later, just like the Vincent Keimer game. Queen d2 and h4 here is the way that you can play for a win. Not this. And he goes wrong. And after f5, there's some problems for black. f6 and rook b8, you might get mated. So you have to go queen c8, and like Wesley's almost winning now with rook a7. It's kind of insane. Queen h3. Now Wesley is losing to knight f3 check. Knight f3 check. And why is that winning? Why is knight f3 check winning? Because when the king runs, you check, then you take, and then you promote. So you have to protect your back rank in a lot of different lines. But he goes here, king e5. Everybody was trying to lose this game. It's like perpetual. The 2 pawns are lost. But white has 3 pieces, and ultimately, after all that, we have this. Rook and knight versus queen and pawn, but because the rook and the knight control the same squares, this is a defensive fortress. There is no way for black to get through here without losing both his pawn and his queen to the rook and the knight. And so the boys shuffle around for a while, but you this is a fortress. Everything in white's position protects everything else. And Gukesh, on the first 2 days of the tournament, played 260 moves of chess. And he has to play more. He has to play Armageddon. And in the Armageddon, things were not as good. Wesley chose the Vienna. Second time we see the Vienna played. Gukesh, by the way, I think this is hilarious that Gukesh used the Vienna to beat Vincent, and then Wesley used the Vienna to try to beat Gukesh. Wesley obviously trying to be featured in the Gotham recap. He would have been featured regardless, though, because he's playing the tournament and there's not that many games. From the opening, Wesley was absolutely crushing. He was a pawn up with a ton of initiative, a lot of tactics. Then as the Armageddon would, unfold, he would blunder. He would go for something that is not winning. In fact, it's nearly losing if black plays bishop e6 and rook c8. But Gukesh goes here. And that is losing. He went for this, but it doesn't work out. I mean, honestly, the quality of the Armageddon games is like hardly better than a bullet session on chess.com. Like, the games are so chaotic. The guys and the gals, they don't care if it's 1 or 1.5 points. The games are crazy. So Wesley beats Gukesh in the Armageddon, Firouzja with a classical win, and Magnus and Vincent putting on an absolute banger. Just a great, great show. On the women's side, there was only one exciting classical game, and golly, it was this one. Bibisara in the first round wins with the black pieces. Now, Bibisara and Sindarov right now are the power couple of the world of chess. I think for most chess fans, we don't see enough sunlight, and so if we see two people who fit the Venn diagram of in love and being cute together and both play chess and maybe play it really well, chess fans just completely lose their minds. So I'm seeing so much content with the two of these individuals. Sindarov is obviously helping her prepare. She almost won the candidates. They are the real power couple of the world of chess at the moment. And she, in this game, played an absolutely insane game. So she went for a Benoni against Drew Jinner. And from the opening, it could not have gone worse for black. So the opening finishes. White plays in a very boring, restricting way. Bibisara tries to complicate things. In the Benoni, if you try to complicate things, you really could burn the whole house down. The house is on fire. The house is very much on fire in Oslo. The position is miserable. You put 4 dark squared pawns in front of a dark squared bishop. There is no way on earth that this is gonna work. E5 by white, like what you take, the bishop gets activated on the diagonal. Drew Jinner is playing like an engine. Rook e1, and you gotta go rook e6. You gotta go rook e6, even if it's not the best move. Fine, queen e4, I'll allow it. Knight c4. Black has one of the worst positions ever. Just look, nothing can move. You are like desperately searching. He has to play king to g8, man. h4, and now begins the beatdown of the king side, but instead of taking this and allowing a little bit of counterplay for black, which actually wasn't that good, she goes here and goes here. So she goes queen f3 and rook d1. And Bibisara is like, we in there. Let's go. Rook a2, putting a little bit of pressure now. White getting into time trouble. She has 4 minutes for the remainder of the game. All of a sudden she has 3 minutes. All of a sudden she has 2 minutes. All of a sudden black is alive. What the Not only is black alive, the Kazakh powerhouse is winning with black. The knight is alive. This is the thing about the Benoni. The Benoni is kind of like a cockroach. Okay, you best hope you stomp on it really, really well the first time, and maybe the second time, because it's gonna come alive, and Bibisara is completely winning. Obviously, it's a time trouble. There's gonna be a ton of blunders, but the evaluation bar is at the bottom level. If you look at the graph, which is somewhere here, there is nothing for white. It's all black here. King g6. She is winning now for like half a dozen moves. She's looking for a win. She can't exactly find a win. There's a mess here amongst all the pieces, but she's gonna get a win right here. Knight takes knight is winning. It's winning. It's winning because if you take it, you're gonna take the bishop. And if rook takes a2, there is rook e2 check, and you take with the rook, and the knight will get out of the danger, and then you have 2 pieces and a bunch of pawns, and you win. Bibisara has the win on the board, but she misses it, and she does it a little too late. She gets a brilliant move, but this is a draw. She cannot escape the draw. This little moment here, rook d1, king f3. King f3 set the trap for this draw by rooks, and they have to settle for a draw. So many of these games are just going down to the wire in this format. Rook e7, obviously she saw that this wasn't coming, but the king is actually safe, and if you take the knight, you win. Knight takes knight right at this moment is winning the game. But she goes rook d1, and now this one simple move, king f3, she obviously thought like something else was going to happen. She was just taking a pawn here. Plus, she played the move rook d1 with 2 seconds on the clock. And so now we go to Armageddon, which as always is exciting, chaotic. This game was absolutely no exception. This was a much more open King's Indian defense. The last one was very restricting. Bibisara, again, turning the game incredibly messy, incredibly complicated, sacrificing a knight, looking to force a draw. It's actually equal. It's equal. It's equal. It's no longer equal. Bishop to d8, pinning the rook to the queen. Oh my goodness. She plays it. She plays it, and Bibisara now has to sacrifice, but because White's king is so weak, she just blunders the pawn on a2. I don't know if she blundered it or she saw this. Maybe she was, I don't think she maybe blundered a2, which I don't know. I don't know. It's tough here. It's tough because you see this coming, and now you're like, all right, she gives away the pawn on a2. Totally chaotic. Queen d4 check was there, but now White is better, and now White is going to be much better here for a moment if you play the move knight g5, which is enough time, but everything is messy. She goes for a trade. That's not the best move. It's just a heavyweight slugfest here, and bishop f4 is winning. Bishop f4 just trapped the queen. Bishop d4, bishop f4 again trapped the queen. Bibisara goes here, and White has to just, I don't know. Yo, Armageddon is nonsense. I think they need a format change, bro. Like, the Armageddon is exciting for a spectator because you guys play like this, but oh goodness me, this was a crazy game. As you can see from their rating, 24-11, that's not their rating. Their rating is much, much higher. This Armageddon was insane. This Armageddon was insane. The Carlsen Armageddon was smooth. The classical game was insane. Anna Muzychuk versus Ju Wenjun. I'm not gonna lie, my friends, this was a whole bunch of nothing. I think this happened at the candidates. A queenless game. This was the game. It's basically a draw from the opening. I don't know what was surprising here. I don't know. I don't know if Anna Muzychuk, I don't know. She could have played a lot of things. Generally, the 4 knights is a draw. Knight d4 is a very forcing line. Knight d4 is very forcing. Black can also play bishop d6. There's some other lines here. So they drew. So we go to the Armageddon. And Vienna. Okay, never mind. 4 knights. Oh, Anna Muzychuk. And they play the same line, but this time White goes for a very aggressive variation that is extremely sharp. So she deliberately plays into this insanity. Ju Wenjun defends knight c7. And the position's really complicated. So, looking to make the position a bloodbath with a major time advantage. Knight h4 hits the queen. The queen has to go to h7, rook e1. Now, not only is White up like a bunch of time, her position is also very promising. And this is normal for Armageddon. Like, if you tank a ton of time in the opening and you don't play well, you're gonna be down on time with a losing position. But Anna Muzychuk is only up 7 seconds on the clock now. So, there was a moment from this opening. Anna Muzychuk had 9 to 340. And then she tries to play the best moves, and she does, but she doesn't have enough time left. And we already know what's going to happen in the Armageddon if you don't have enough time left. I mean, she is completely crushing here. It's a beautiful position. Black's king is in the middle. Oops. Your knight hangs, and Ju Wenjun is winning with black. She's winning. She has to navigate this position and manage her nerves, but she's a long-time reigning world champion. She's got the nerves to do it. She's winning, and Anna Muzychuk totally in dire straits here. You can trade the bishop, you can play bishop takes, and try to trade the queen, but this move is played. And king d7. King d7's bad. King d7's bad, because queen f7 and queen e6 is mate. And we go from completely winning to checkmated in 2 moves, and that is Armageddon. Divya Deshmukh versus Hambi Konaru. Another game. This was actually a very exciting game. But it was another game that ended in a draw. Divya plays e4, e5, d3, which is incredible. What a line. Massive surprise in the opening. Knight c6, and then she goes g4. I wonder if Humpy Ma'am was offended. This is no way to play against the legend, bro. Divya can play like this against me if we play classical chess. I mean, goodness me. G4. This is absurd. This is absurd. No, of course you can play whatever you know, this is not a disrespectful opening. This is a very sharp line. Now, if you guys played like this, I'd slap the crap out of you, but, you know. Anyway, bishop g2, h4. Yeah, apparently, welcome to 2026. You can just basically do whatever you want on the chessboard. No holds barred. d6, g5, bro. I mean, this is insanity. She goes like this. Bro, she played f4. Divya is looking like she's playing a 2-hour game. She's looking like this is bullet 3 in the morning and potentially intoxicated. Now, here's the thing. Surprise weapons only go so far. This opening actually is ass, okay? And if Black, even if she's not prepared, she's never seen this before, and White gets a bit of a better position, like Black played very, very, very solid, did not try to punish the setup at all. This opening is still ass. Objectively, it's still ass. And what ultimately happens here is Black ends up castling, keeps everything very solid and compact in the center of the board, and Divya continues to try to instigate. But yeah, Black just very nice, clean, nice methodical game. Knight takes g6, kind of a fancy move. Your rook's hanging, your knight's hanging. But everything gets traded off, and the players agree to a draw, and we have our final Armageddon of the day. And Divya, this time, does not play what she played. She does not play the same thing. She goes for a little bit more of a solid line. For Ru Lopez, kind of 4 knights, really. This is a 4 knights. By the way, you saw Ju and Jun play knight d4 twice, but here we have bishop c5. And from this game, it was Divya, again, looking for kind of a nice dynamic attacking game like this. Knight g3, she's going to get the knight to f5, or she's going to put pressure here. And overall, the position is solid, but it's Armageddon. And what always inevitably happens in Armageddon is you do things you would never do in classical chess. The move c5 blocks the diagonal, and allows the knight to hit very important pawns with no counterplay. So Divya is much better. Now Divya gets the knight to f5, the rook on d1. She's completely crushing here. The knight is on d6. The knight is on b7. The knight just took a pawn. And the knight's going to take a second pawn pretty soon. And you're just going to queen. You're just going to queen. You are just going to queen. And if you do, you're just going to queen. Humpy lost on time here. I think she played knight a8 and she lost on time. But this is totally winning for White. It would have taken some work, actually. But Humpy flagged. I think here the winning move for White was a7 first, and then you try to go for knight c8, because the king can't actually get any closer. Nothing can get closer. And with White, you just take your time. I think that's just what happens. You play like... I think that's what you do. You play like king g8, king f1, king f8, king e2, king g8, king g3, king f8, and then knight c8. And when the knight goes here, king c4. And this is probably how you win. Probably. Don't know. Don't actually have to play the moves. Thank goodness. I just comment. Bibisara almost did the Fallujah. She almost had... I forgot to change the pairings, standings. I apologize. I will remember that in the future videos. Bibisara 4.5. Divya with 3. 2 wins in Armageddon for Divya. A win in Classical and Armageddon for Bibisara. And in over here, Alireza Fallujah has a 6-point head start. But if he loses a game in Classical to anybody, it's going to be a lot closer. But yeah. That concludes the coverage today. As always, if you would like to pre-order my next book, you can and you should. It's a great help to me. And if you would like to get a ticket to the next tour, tickets are in the description. We're doing Köln, Cologne. We'll be in Paris, Zurich, Amsterdam, and London. Not in that order. Tickets are always in the description. See you for round number 3 and get out of here.